Hello and welcome to OpenSoundLab. My name is Ludwig Zeller and I'm going to guide you through the basic functions and features of OpenSoundLab in this first tutorial. We start with opening the menu. So if you hold your controllers like so, you can see the X and Y buttons on the left controller and the A and B buttons on the right controller. The X and the A buttons, they open up the menu. So either press A or X in order to open up the menu in front of you. Place the controller where you want to have the menu opened and then press the X button. Pressing the X button or A button again will close the menu and you can reopen it like so. In the menu, with the trigger buttons here on the front of the controllers, you can drag modules from the menu and create instances of them. So for instance, here the oscillator, if I drag it like so, I have now one instance of an oscillator in front of me. I can again use the trigger buttons to grab them and move them around, rotate them. I can also scale them up and down again. And I can use the trigger button to turn the rotary dials clockwise or counterclockwise. I can use both hands at the same time, of course. I can use sliders that way and turn switches and buttons. If I want to reset one of the dials, you can use the B and or Y button to reset the dial to its default value. So if I increase this pitch and then go in there so that it's hovered and press the B button, it's gonna jump back to the default setting. Same is true for the amplitude. And also with the B and the Y button, I can duplicate an object. So if I'm not inside the dial, but inside the object, I can see it's hovered now with this trigger thing here. Then I can create a duplicate of this object. And now we have two objects, so we can do some patching. For the patching, these plugs here appear when you approach the sockets. So if I then with the trigger pull this plug from here, I can generate connections to other modules. And I can release these by just unplugging them and letting go in midair. Okay, so and for the basic idea of pretty much all of the objects is that audio comes out on the right side, audio comes in on the left side, which is not the case for an oscillator, but for instance would be the case for a filter here. So this is the audio input on the left side, output on the right side, and modulation information goes in on the top sides or on the bottom. The filter doesn't have something on the bottom, but the oscillator does. You can also see if a socket is an input or an output. The inputs, they have a hole in the middle, while the output it's filled. Okay, so and you can delete objects by opening up the menu if it's not opened, and then put the objects that you want to delete in the recycle bin. You get a haptic feedback when you approach the recycle bin, so that you know that you are inside the bin, and you can let go, and they will be deleted. Okay, then we have more to the menu here. There is this settings menu here that you can click with a trigger button. You can create new patches with this, overwriting and deleting. Deleting your current patch. So be careful. You can save patches to existing files or to new files, and you can load patches, the ones that you have written yourself or the ones that come packaged with OpenSoundLab. So these are the example packages, 1 to 10, and the next tutorials, they will guide you through step by step through these examples. So that will be the tutorial. The next tutorial will be about generative wind. Right, and then we have this metronome section here. This metronome is a clock generator, which is connected to all the sequencer and all the looper objects. And you have a BPM adjustment dial here that you can turn or reset. There's a play button, of course, a reset button, and there are nudge buttons here. So if you want to synchronize to an external, to another sequencer, another external device or a computer, then you can use the plus and minus to sync to adjust the phase of both players. And there's a record button, which will saving to the samples folder inside the sessions folder. It's recording 48 kilohertz with 24-bit. And if you are activating the binaural specialization, then the binaural sound will be saved to the file. Speaking of which, if you want to activate the binaural specialization, then by pressing the joystick, not moving it around, but by pressing in the center, you can switch between the binaural spatialization mode and the normal stereo mode and switch in between them. The binaural setting is saved to the files, just to let you know. And then finally, we come to this performance settings menu here. Actually, you don't have to do anything here, but you can. So you can adjust the frames per second, the frame rate. The default is 72. There is the lowest setting is 60, then 72, 80, 90, and 120. Then you can set the resolution of the rendering. So this is the maximum setting right now. It's quite sharp. And if I decrease this, then you can see you can go very low, which allows you to run even complex patches with high frame rates, which can be nice for performing. But put it back again. You can set the CPU and GPU levels. By default, OpenSoundLab sets them to maximum, but you can decrease them if you are running out of battery or have heat issues with your headset. And then there is this fixed foveated rendering setting, which by default is on the high setting. You can decrease it if you find that distracting, or you can just leave it as it is because it gives you quite the performance boost. And on this high setting, I do not find it too distracting. But to let you know, the highest setting, unfortunately, is not working at the moment. So basically, you can just leave these as they are when you start the program. But if you want to increase the frame rate and want to balance that with the resolution, that could give you maybe make it nicer to stay longer inside the headset and the virtual environment, because more fluid motion can be quite pleasant to many people. But then you have to balance it with the resolution and the other settings. Okay, so that's it for tutorial number 1. Have a good time with the next tutorials, with learning about sound design and sonic research. And I hope you enjoy OpenSoundLab. And if you want to drop us a line, then please do so.